One thing I realized while writing the deeper dives of the Elevate Within and talking about the first half is that we weren't just collecting stories. We were slowly uncovering a philosophy. So, Claudia, you've been with us every Friday, week after week, as both a therapist and a co-host. What stood out to you the most?
I came into the project and wanting to hear these stories. I mean, it's what I do. Thinking I got this. I know the story. Like it's going to be the same. I understand what burnout is. I've done a lot of training on that. I explained, to many people from higher ups, lawyers to, moms who are having babies. But like to actually hear these high achieving executive women have the same exact experience as when I used to work in community health, and it's a mom who is struggling and low income and is, trying to survive, that the physical symptoms are the same. The thoughts that they think about themselves are the same, that their, status, socioeconomic didn't make a difference, that the body, that the mind still tries to communicate in the exact same way. I mean, I was surprised by that, even though I was like, I was ready for doing the analysis. And as I'm listening to the interviews and participating, I'm going, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, it's the same thing over and over again, right?
Burnout does not discriminate.
No,
at
it does
all.
not.
At all. And I think that's something I need to write about. Burnout does not discriminate. It does not care who you are, where you come from, what race, religion, if you go rich, poor, middle class, It just doesn't matter.
Nope. And it really is about these expectations, right? That
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Elevate Within. I'm your host, Sandy Davis, and joining me today, as always, is my co-host and dear friend, Claudia Cuevas, licensed marriage and family therapist. How's it going, Claudia?
It's going.
Good. If you've been following our summer series, you've spent every Friday with Claudia as we unpacked these conversations together, helping us understand not only what our guest experienced, but why so many of us recognize ourselves in these stories. Today's episode is a little different. It's not another solo conversation. It's not one of our Friday roundtables. I think of it as our summer series interlude, a chance to pause before we begin the second half of the architecture of reinvention, the art of unbecoming. Because over the past month, something unexpected happened. I thought I was recording a series of individual conversations. Instead, I found myself witnessing something much larger as the story unfolds. That's what today's episode is about. And because we're taking a step back today, I want to bring someone in with a completely different perspective, someone incredibly special to me, my best friend, Taina Galarza. Taina is a licensed master social worker who bridges evidence-based psychotherapy with the holistic understanding of healing. Through her work at Sandoval Collab, she helps people move beyond survival, using trauma-informed care, while also integrating complementary wellness practices that support lasting change. But today, she's not here as one of our featured guests or therapists. She's here as a listener, someone who's been following the summer series along with all of you and bringing both her professional perspective and her own reflections to these conversations. Taina, welcome to Elevate Within.
Hello, everyone. Wonderful to be here. Super excited to join you, ladies. I feel like I'm part of the tribe officially, so thank you for this.
You are part of the tribe. Welcome. Now, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll get into the gentlemen later, if you've been following our summer series since July, you've met some extraordinary women. Rather than recap every episode, I want to talk about what surprised me and Claudia. When I invited Jenny Catalano, Blake Schofield, Amanda Maloney, Natalie Hoop, and Maiko Sakai, I thought they were going to tell 5 completely different stories, different careers, different backgrounds, different personalities, different definitions of success. Instead, they all arrived at exactly the same place, not because they planned to, because life quietly invited them there. That realization became the foundation of what I've been writing in the Elevate Within Deeper Dive essays. 5 women, 1 story. Jenny reminded us that healing begins with honesty. Blake showed us that survival can become so familiar, it starts looking like capability. Amanda gave language to guilt so many women carry quietly. Natalie challenged the stories we tell ourselves about our worth. Maiko reminded us that ownership begins by embracing every part of ourselves. Different stories, same journey. Claudia, before we do a deep dive into what we found, I would love to get Taina's perspective as a listener. Taina, you weren't interviewing these women. You weren't preparing questions. You simply experienced these conversations as a listener. I'd love to know. As you listened across the series, what connected you to these women?
Just the humility in their stories, how they just arrived as themselves and were able to communicate so effectively and vulnerably the parts of life that had started to crack, the facades that they can no longer mask and keep up with, and what that journey actually looked like to arrive to the great women that they are today. Because one thing for certain, when you're starting these conversations, you're looking at these great women, you could just see their assertiveness, they're confident, they know who they are. And it is such a place that I think all of us crave to be as young women or even in your mid 30s. I found myself, I was like, man, I can't wait till I have it all together. And you realize it just takes a lot of evolving. Takes a lot of storms that we not only weather, but we have to learn to overcome. And it was in those conversations that they just arrived and were able to almost show those broken pieces. What is the name of that Japanese practice where you take a broken cup and you fill it with gold, but it's still usable and now it's a beautiful piece of art. So it wasn't so much that they were shedding these old parts of themselves as so much as they were integrating the pain and becoming newer, greater versions of themselves. That really resonated deeply for me.
Wow. Wow. Were there any moments in any of the episodes that surprised you?
Yes. Yes. 2 things that come to mind specifically in the latest episode with Maiko, how the patriarchy knows no limit, no boundary. It comes for us all. It doesn't matter if you're in Japan in a more homogenous society, or you're in America. We're not so much, but we're all affected deeply by it, and it leaves us craving acceptance. It leaves us craving perfection. It leaves us grinding down parts of ourselves just to kind of fit into these little boxes that were never meant for us. And then Jenny. I think Jenny kind of put my
We love
own.
Jenny.
Yeah, I mean, incredible, a phenomenal woman. I would love to have a sleepover with her in my mind because I know there's so many gems to get from her. But I think what it is you look at somebody aesthetically speaking, got the blonde hair, the beautiful coif, the crystal blue eyes. And because of her self-assured confidence, you think this is a woman that could have never gone through any of the things that she had gone through. And yet she had, so that's part of the struggle too of becoming a phenomenal woman is, again, the cutting and the breaking and the healing aspect of it and the integrating all of that. So yeah, I found myself very surprised by that of like, how did we ever think that universal trauma, the whole theory of it is everybody experiences some form of trauma, whether it's a small T or a big T, but it touches us all. We're all human beings and we all know what it's like to have our hearts broken in one way over the other, especially in this realm of professionalism and what it means to be a professional woman. So yeah, both of those definitely stuck with me long term. I mean, but every conversation has something.
Yeah. And you also watched the Roundtable series with me and Claudia. Did you notice any themes that perhaps me and Claudia might have missed?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, because I think Claudia has such an effortless way of bringing therapy to the table without making it feel and sound like therapy.
She does.
Yeah,
She does.
so I'm sure her clients appreciate her extensively. But it's the quietness in terms of how these things kind of creep in. It was no great. I mean, for some, it was like a really bad diagnosis, right? Of like the body finally saying, this is it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm breaking down. I need you to stop and recognize what your sacrifice is costing us. But it all happens in these small, very quiet dribs and drabs that we don't realize. It's almost like water, on a stone that we don't realize. Eventually, it's going to crack open. I think that's what it was. How facetious the patriarchy kind of works on our spirits in different ways. Whether we're moms, whether we're business owners, whether we're reinventing ourselves and seeking new paths in our lives, it all affects us. I think that's the thing. Is like, we can only be so strong. We're human beings at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I always love Claudia's way of kind of allowing space to explore a little bit more and put words to things that I don't think many of us realize or are cognizant of. So having that breath, that pause allows like some deeper reflection and seeing why it resonates so deeply. I think that was part of it too, of like, that is why it resonated with me a little bit more. So I love the roundtables because it's just like, man, this 38 minutes was powerful, but then it's the additional, it's like the icing and the cherry on top. It really is chef's kiss. I really love that. Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate that. And I wanted to ask, to steal from the wonderful Oprah, like, I wanted to know for you, like your aha moment, right? The moment where you have to go, we've all been on a podcast or listening to it and you're like, let me put a pause. I have to write it down. Let me make a note about that because I need to go back to that. Was there anything for you from your own personal journey that it kind of like had a little aha moment for you?
Oh man.
Not to put you on the spot.
No. Of course. I mean, that's good. That's good journalism. No, but I think again, it goes back to Jenny. Because something that I didn't realize that was still stuck with me is the skin picking and how innocent it seems. And also remembering my mom and her skin picking and how it's kind of a learned behavior. Now it's more self-soothing than anything. But again, it's like these little indicators of the big T's and the small T's. And it's like one of those things, like, if you know, you're like, oh, I see my people. We don't talk about those things, but it's like the wink in a locker room of like, I see you, girl. Like, we're gonna connect later on. And just recognizing that in myself.
Yeah.
But then I think it's a deeper reflection of what are we doing with that? Like, how are we bringing ourselves back home to ourselves?
Yeah.
And again, that's where the deeper conversations come in. That grace comes in. I think that's another thing that you provide in these roundtables of just for anybody who's going through something similar, it's applying that grace to it, to the conversation. And maybe we can internalize some of that because we're desperate for it.
It's wonderful. I mean, one of the things that we want to do is that we want other people to feel seen and heard.
Yes.
And so we don't get to know how it's affecting other people until people start sharing with us. So I really appreciate that because that is our purpose, is that other people don't feel so alone in this journey.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Well,
that's some of the comments that I've been getting, not only from our guests, but also from some of the listeners, where from the guest perspective, you've read the emails where it's like, thank you for providing a safe space where we're not trying to sensationalize their stories, but really have a conversation that most women should have, where it's like, no, we're sitting down at the table, let's talk about it. And it's that little dog whistle of the skin picking, where it's like, for those that know, it's like, yep, I know what you've been through, I've been through it too. And then you have a side conversation. But it's also seeing ourselves. I saw myself in a lot of these women, and I was learning as I was listening to their stories. And then, Claudia's perspective, which is so rich, she really came from a place of, why do you think that happened? Or, how do where did that come from? So it wasn't blaming. She wasn't blaming. She wasn't like, oh, well, this is what happens, blah, blah, blah. She really just led the conversation so gently of like, where do you think that came from? And, really Claudia's mannerisms and simplifying the therapeutic language, so to speak, that many of us don't know. I know I'm one of them. Where it's like, oh yeah, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. She didn't use big words. It was very inviting.
Yes.
It was very, talking to your auntie or, just a really good friend to be like, you know what? I'm going through something. I'm going to call Claudia.
Yeah.
So Claudia brings Fridays. It's so rich. So rich.
It was the first time that anybody's ever called me gentle.
So like her clients are like, that's not the Claudia I get. I'm like, she holds me accountable. She wants, yeah.
My clients, it was my family who was like, gentle. But
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I'm taking it in.
Yeah, I'm sure your next patient will come in with the podcast on the phone and be like, can you be more like this? Like, what was she talking about type of thing?
No.
Yeah, I haven't been called gentle. It is what it is. One thing I realized while writing the deeper dives of the Elevate Within and talking about the first half is that we weren't just collecting stories. We were slowly uncovering a philosophy. So Claudia, you've been with us every Friday, week after week, as both a therapist and a co-host. What stood out to you the most?
I came into the project and wanting to hear these stories. I mean, it's what I do. Thinking I got this. I know the story. Like it's going to be the same. I understand what burnout is. I've done a lot of training on that. I explained, to many people from higher ups, lawyers to, moms who are having babies, but like to actually hear these high achieving executive women have the same exact experience as when I used to work in community health, and it's a mom who is struggling and low income and is, trying to survive, that the physical symptoms are the same. The thoughts that they think about themselves are the same, that their, status, socioeconomic didn't make a difference, that the body, that the mind still tries to communicate in the exact same way. I mean, I was surprised by that, even though I was like, I was ready for doing the analysis. And as I'm listening to the interviews and participating, I'm going, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, it's the same thing over and over again, right?
Burnout does not discriminate.
No,
at
100%.
At all. And I think that's, that's something I need to write about. Burnout does not discriminate. It does not care who you are, where you come from, what race, religion, if you go rich, poor, middle class, it just doesn't matter.
Nope. And it really is about these expectations, right? That we put on ourselves, that society puts on ourselves. Like it's what I found common thread throughout all the women is that there was a perspective, a lens that they were seeing themselves through from childhood, right? Whether it's, I need to be successful, I need to be a good girl, I need to be self-sufficient. Whatever the lens was, still led them through the same journey, which was, I have to achieve, I need to do this, which then all led them to the same conclusion, was I wasn't being my authentic self.
Right.
It doesn't mean that they don't have to be successful or they don't have to be an executive, is that they were playing a role. And then encountering through that role so many roadblocks and didn't understand. I got the playbook. I was told I needed to do this. I'm doing it. how come I'm struggling?
That's what
Why
I was
am
going to
I
point
having
out.
burnout? Why am
Yeah.
I having burnout when I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing?
And
Not
it's the
taking
conditions.
account. Yep.
Yeah.
Not taking account like, yeah, you're fighting patriarchy. You're fighting capitalism. This system was not meant for you.
Right.
Right. And so, yes, we're breaking glass ceilings and we're doing all this stuff. But when you take the reins and understand, and this is why we have all these women that are, once they understood what their actual purpose was and they were starting to live their life authentically, man, they're just as successful, but now they're happy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That part.
Yeah.
Part.
Why do you think,
yeah.
sorry, but why do you think so many women identify with these conversations, in your opinion?
Because I think we're given this playbook, right? Society tells us, again, no matter where you go, here, Mexico, Europe, there's this expectation, right, of the woman's role. Some of us are afforded more luxuries of like, sure, you can be whatever you want to be, no problem. But the mental load of being a woman in society and then being a mother and then being successful, that doesn't go away. And so that's why I think more women is like wherever they're at, right? Whether they're executive level or they're, just trying to survive and get to work and their fourth job that they're trying to do, it's still the same expectations.
It's almost as if, when you listen to those pharmaceutical commercials, what you just said, it's like, you could be the best, you could be great, you can be successful, you could be anything you want to be if you try hard, work hard. And then the side effects, which they used to whisper, but now they speak so loudly. So I feel like the side effects includes burnout, identity crisis, like imposter syndrome, grief, shrinking of the voice,
people
doubt,
pleasing,
fear, people pleasing, just all of that stuff where I think that's what it is. It's, we're taught to, this is what it's like to be a woman and how to be successful. But here are the side effects.
Or it's this is the cost. You want that? Here's what it's going to cost you. There's a tax to be paid.
Yeah.
I also think we have something more nefarious going on because then we have the influencer, like Instagram, IG baddies who are like, I made $200,000 this past month. And if you're not on a yacht, then you're doing it wrong. You're not manifesting, like that's very harmful to people who are just like, I do my affirmations. I'm drinking the water. I pray over the water. I'm doing all of the things. And it's still, I'm not enough. So it's me. I'm the broken one because obviously it's working. So I think both of those things are pulling at us. And then it's the very dangerous understanding that we are our roles. Are you a good mother? Are you a good professional? Are you a good daughter? Are you a good neighbor? Like how do I serve? How do I show up in what room? What hat am I wearing? And that's all I am. And I mean, I remember years ago, like Sandy was like, well, who are you? And I was like, well, I'm an admin. And she's like, no, like, who are you? And I was like, don't know what that means. I'm getting upset though. So stop asking me because I didn't know who I was. And then we did this exercise a couple months ago and I was like, don't ask me who. And she's like, no, but who are you? And I was like, I'm this, I'm that, blah, 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 and had nothing to do with roles anymore. But it was everything about who I now am. But it's taken a long time to get here.
Because we're trained when we say, hey, tell me a little bit about yourself. We read off our resume. We start with our titles. If you don't really have the titles, then you start with your active service. Oh, I'm a mom or I'm this. Not to say there isn't anything wrong with it. I think, especially with the writings that I've been doing lately and listening to these conversations, and I've spoken to you, Claudia, as well as you and Taina, and letting you know what I find. So one thing is like, it's okay for women to be successful. I want to just reiterate that. You can break the ceilings. Just know there's going to be another ceiling on top of that. That's just, there's always going to be another ceiling until history kind of changes. But from where I'm looking at up until today, we are crashing ceilings only to go to another ceiling. We're going a little bit higher, but there are still additional ceilings. what is important that I want women to realize is that as long as you have self-awareness and you know who you are authentically, I understand there might be some imposter syndrome you will have to do while while working in the role that you are, right? I understand that. But when you leave work, you need to leave work.
Yeah.
And you need to come back to yourself. You need to check in with yourself. And I think the main theme that I want to make sure that women understand is your foundation has to be solid because we still carry a lot of people. And when you don't check in with yourself, when you don't know who you are, if you lose yourself, if you don't take action, when you feel like, you know what, something is off, something no longer fits, if you don't take the action, and that was the purpose of me doing this series and doing this podcast. So no one goes through what I went through, is understanding if you don't check in with yourself, your foundation becomes sinking sand. And everybody that you are holding and carrying starts to sink with you. And you know who they're going to blame? You. That's just the role that we have. So be successful, build your accolades, but make sure you're constantly checking in with yourself. Make sure you get the therapy that you need. Make sure you're journaling. Make sure that you are processing the day when you're leaving work and heading home of like, okay, I need to leave work at work. I remember, Taina, when we were in investment banking together, when we left work. This was before the BlackBerry. Do you remember those days? When we left work, we left work. If we worked late, we worked late. But then when we left, there was no emails to check on the ride home or at home. There were no calls. There was no, I got to open up my laptop. We didn't have laptops.
Right.
Dude, when we went home, we went home. And that was it.
There's probably some direct correlation with anxiety once we became more modern.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you can't have anxiety about something you don't have control over.
Right.
You just, right? But now it's like the computer's right there. The email comes in, the ping comes in. Okay, but I'm supposed to. And how do I not? I mean, I work consistently with clients to turn it off. Turn it off. I did a whole series of Burnout with some ACLU lawyers when all that stuff was going on after COVID, and we were having all these people coming in through the borders and stuff. And it was, I don't sleep, right? They were watching a lot of crime TV, right? All those like snapped kind of like things.
Yeah, you pointed that out. I was like, damn, I do that too. I stopped. Since you said that, girl, I've stopped. I was like, nope, that's toxic.
But and so then it was like, I said, okay. I said, I'm going to need you to, and their thing was like, I have to answer the phone. I can't sleep because if an email comes in, I'm like, what court is open at 1 a.m.? And they were like, I said, is it life or death? If you do not answer if you don't check your email and, between 11 and 6 a.m., because I said 6 a.m., there, can't go any later than that. I said, will someone die? And their face was like, no. I said, okay, you can give yourself 7 hours, 6 hours of sleep, because they were getting 2. And they wanted to fight me on it.
Right.
But I had to fact check them.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Fact check. We did an episode like that.
Yeah,
fact check
the
your
reality
emotions.
testing of it.
That is really, it's all about the practice. It's
it feels
all about
true,
the practice.
Right? It feels devastating and it feels anxious and it feels true, but it doesn't mean it doesn't mean it is. Right?
Also, if you do have that boss, maybe it's time to look for new opportunities, because I literally have gone through that recently where I was just like, you have until 9:30 p.m. Like, you have until 9:30, I'm going to bed. And then how to deal with passive aggressive comments about beauty sleep and, I don't want to. And I'm like, there's no emergency happening right now.
Right.
There's nothing happening. Like, I need to get my rest for the next day. So,
Yeah, that's a whole nother episode on the toxic environments.
Write it down.
In the workplace. One thing I will say is not only, we're not just speaking to folks in corporate America, but I'm also talking about these women entrepreneurs. And what I'm also realizing in the conversations that I'm having is that we are taking the same conditions when we were working in corporate America into our own business. And I was guilty of it until I recognized it and had to stop it. So you can still have the burnout if you don't have the discipline and understanding and doing the fact checking and the emotions. You're just going from corporate America to your own business, taking that same conditions, and you're still going to lose.
Well, it's your superpower. It's what made you successful where you were.
Yes.
So how would you not apply it to your own baby and your own situation, right? The expectation now becomes about your own expectation and having to deconstruct that and make it more healthy. That makes sense for you, right? Because that's why you were leaving. You want to be home. If you're a mom, you wanted to be home with your kid and you wanted to go to yes, but don't let the stuff that posed as success be the thing that then brings you down now, right?
Right. And it also comes from survival. It comes from fear and from survival. And, Blake Schofield's episode, we recognize that where we took survival as, capability and I can do this. It was just that that switch, that recognizing, be like, no, survival mode doesn't mean because you're doing everything with angst and you're pushing through no matter what, how tired you are. That is, as we would say, the devil is a lie. That's survival. That's saying that, oh, I'm capable. See what I can do. And I will be the first to admit I do that a lot and had to step back and then had to give myself grace to step back and to relax and to rest and not feel guilty. So I'm even talking to a lot of those leaders and founders as well, where it's like, man, it's not just happening in corporate America. It's happening in our own businesses. It's happening when we're leading other teams. We are shrinking ourselves when we're talking to clients, where we are hesitating on having those difficult conversations with the clients. Natalie Hoop, she had to give herself permission to actually know her worth and be able to charge what you're worth. I mean, I've had conversations with some prospect clients and it was just like, oh, that's a high bill. And I was like, oh, well, let me know if you can find that somewhere else cheaper, but my price is my price.
Right.
Period.
Yep.
And it was like, well, can we, bargain or gamble or, try to bargain or barter? Like, no, I've been there, done that. Been there, done that. I know my worth. I have over 25 years experience. I know what I'm capable of doing. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And you have to be comfortable in that.
Yep. And being out of survival mode will help you that, right? So
Absolutely.
when you live in survival mode, all you're doing is overriding your nervous system. And so it feels normal to you. And so when you start doing the stepping back, when you start setting those boundaries, when you start asking for your worth, when you start doing a gratitude list, right? When you start checking in with yourself, you start that stuff starts melting down and it becomes easier to be able to be in touch with your gut and it going no, you can say no, it's fine. And it doesn't have to be, oh my God, why are they taking advantage of me? It's just no, it's a no, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Talk to me later kind of thing. But it's foreign for most of us until we're able to take a step back.
We need to do little anecdotes and phrases to tell people. I always tell a lot of women that I talk to, you have to gain control of your own being, your own self, the autonomy. That is your freedom. You don't let anybody tell you otherwise and don't ask for permission. Get used to it. It sounds horrible, but it's because we were trained as women. That's selfish. We were taught to be selfless,
Yes.
not selfish. But I was like, but look what's happening by me being selfless. The women are burning out early, their 20s and 30s, being diagnosed early, major health issues. Some, unfortunately have had been diagnosed with cancer, where I'm like, well, now that's your new identity.
Uh-huh.
That's your new identity. So it's a whole complex system that women go through. And this is a perfect segue. And Claudia would love to get your thoughts on this. So looking at the analytics of, our YouTube, Apple, Spotify, all the platforms that our podcast is on, and YouTube in particular, I noticed that we have a slightly higher percentage of men watching these series than men. And to be honest with you, like 52% are men. What are your
Interesting.
thoughts on that?
Surprise, surprise.
I know. You know what my thoughts are? I am optimistically hopeful, because I feel that there is also this evolution that's happening where men are becoming more comfortable with taking and being able to like receive information from females. Because again, as much as we're in this patriarchy, capitalism, thing, the people that raise you are your mom.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they resonate, that if they're in any way doing and working on some self-awareness themselves and really becoming in touch with wanting to be a much more whole person, then they're worried about their partner, or they're worried about their daughters, or they're worried about their mom, and really wanting to understand like what's going on, like why are they the way there is, right? And so if they're listening to their partners and the women around them, then they're being able to see how they can go, oh, that story sounds familiar. That's what I've been hearing my grandma say, or I've been hearing my sister-in-law say, or my girlfriend say, like my wife is going through that a little bit. I don't think they can make a connection for themselves, but I think that they can relate because they're paying attention to who they're with.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's a plus. We're winning.
Right. Right. And a lot of them, I would believe, especially if you are a girl dad, if you have just daughters, going into college, or starting their careers in their early 20s, I hope they're listening and getting some of these anecdotes and sitting down and talking to their daughters, or talking to their wives, having a conversation like, there are better ways or healthier ways to be successful as a woman. Taina, what are your thoughts about that?
I'm actually not surprised there is more gentlemen in the chat. I would love to hear directly from them. Men, put your comments down below. We would like to hear directly from you. Why do you tune in? I do think there's something to that effect, that maybe it is a healthier rumination on how everything is affecting the women's in their lives. But maybe it's something a little more self-serving. Maybe it's the fact that men's spaces, right? They've been so red pilly and so toxic, but there's still that thirst for something greater. And maybe just like there's not many women platforms talking about this very subject, in this way, in this, without making it seem flowery and beautiful and just showing the end result. We're talking about that messy middle. I think there's something very just human and very raw, and very tangible and relatable about that. So I think it could be some balance of the two, but I would be so interested in reading the comments below.
Yeah, Claudia and I have an idea about that, but let's talk about the look ahead, Claudia, for the second half of the series. I believe from, looking back on it, we are taking an even deeper dive and exploring the different modalities, EMDR, somatic work, breath work, trauma recovery, nervous system regulation, which is really big, and then also talking about menopause, premenopause. These are conversations that we may have one-on-one, or you might find some platforms where they're talking, a little bit about it or high level. But I realized in the second half, that's what we are shedding light on, that I didn't even realize we were doing that as well. Folks, everything we have done here wasn't necessarily planned. Taina can tell you, Claudia can tell you. I think the universe had a lot to do with it. So, it just, once we finished everything and we put it together, this was the finished product. Am I the only one that's shocked? Claudia?
It's also 60 days old, Sandy. You keep on forgetting. You've been doing this for 2 months.
Yeah, this is true.
This is still very, very, very new.
Podcasting, folks. For you guys don't know, I've never done podcasting. Never.
And she's doing an amazing job.
Right.
Amazing job.
Right. Amazing content, seriously.
Yeah, I literally produced a show, and I was like, oh, I'm going to add that to my bio and resume. But no, folks, I've never done a podcast, and you will see the evolution from the beginning all the way up. I do my own editing, the marketing, which I need someone to help me with the marketing. I know Claudia and I will be hiring soon to get that to help us market this podcast. But yes, so I give myself grace on it. But the end result, for not really knowing what the hell I was doing, I just wanted to get this message out and build something that I wish I had when I was suffering from the burnout. And, especially like losing both my parents, and Taina was there, when I first lost my dad, flying to New York, handling those affairs because she had lost her mom 10 years ago. And that was like the first close death for me, so having her and her dad welcome me into our home and really learning how to process the grief, only to go back to work to be like, all right, now I'm a process for, 30 days later, my mom passed, and having to do that. And, the company really being like, it was almost an inconvenience.
Not almost. It was. Like, they gave you a week and a half out of the graceness and the goodness of their hearts.
But it was like, you need to come back.
And Sandy, and Sandy was like, well, no, I need to. And I was like, no, you don't. Your dad has died. You can take off 2 weeks. And they pressured her. So she ran back. And how many days did they give you for your mom?
None.
Barely.
It was budget season. So it was just on phone. I was like, yo, you got to hurry up and get back here. Like, it was such an inconvenience. So needless to say, that's one of the main reasons why I walked away. So building this space up again was just something I feel like the universe, I think, put it all together. Claudia, having you join the show has been absolutely amazing. And you just effortlessly. I remember I told her, I was like, I don't have much direction. Just hear us out. We crazy, but if you can interpret our crazy,
you'll be all right.
Specialty. No, just kidding.
You are good money.
We don't use that term anymore, but yes.
And Taina, years ago, she was like, we should do a podcast. And I was like, I'm never doing a podcast.
Yeah. I was saying that every year for like 5 years already.
Yeah. And then to journaling, to be like, all right, T, we're going to do a podcast, and, rattling off ideas. And she was just like, very supportive, like, okay, I knew this was happening. So that's the background information on how
welcome
this
to
podcast
living your authentic self, right?
Yes.
I mean, this is the magic of allowing that to just flow and not try to control it and not try, and just allowing it to flow. That I think that's a really big message for people that we have encountered. And you found these guests that have been able to manifest that and do it for themselves, but that our listeners can have some hope of like, that can be you too. It's not, it's messy. It's not going to be, don't think there's like this roadmap and it's all nice and it's a yellow brick road. No, it's messy.
It definitely is.
Man, if you live it, it will just, the creativity and being able to like just flow and feel comfortable and feel content. God, it's just like, it's worth it, all of it.
Yeah. And, really not just being a host of this show, but also a guest myself, because I was in a messy middle and still am.
Yep.
building Elevate operations. I have a new leg that I'm going to introduce to folks in a week or two, Leadership Advisory by Elevate Within, with a lot of these conversations that we're saying to kind of break the some of the conditions from these leaders and founders. And then Elevate Within. This is the real work that we're doing and paying it forward and helping others, and really giving women the autonomy to be like, listen, you got to start putting yourself first. Let's take these baby steps, but we're going to walk you through all of that. And I think this next month coming up, I'm very excited about it. This is when Claudia really does a total deep dive, again, into the different modalities where I was educated, where it's like, okay, this is useful, this is helpful. And I want to say for women, we are a lot more critical in searching for a therapist than we are for a mate.
Sandy, don't go there. Shots fired. Shots fired.
I'm just letting you know. I was like, the questions, like,
No.
well, I don't know what type of therapist or whatever, this and that. We are coming with questions. We're throwing on the glasses. We are already coming in guarded. And I want to implore women, do the same thing for when you find a mate.
Discernment. Yeah.
That's all it is. But healing is a priority that we all need.
I feel like women are doing a good job with that too, which is why we have a loneliness male epidemic, because we're tired of the shenanigans.
Yeah, I've been out of the game for a minute, so I have
Me
no
too,
idea. I have no idea.
Not for lack of trying. But yeah, you guys are coming at a beautiful point. There's a hunger for this content. There's such a thirst. There's been a drought. And I think, to Sandy's point, we've been having these conversations, but we've been in a little silo, and she wanted to bring this out to the greater, because she's like, I know I'm not alone. I was like, absolutely. If we're going through it, other people have to be going through this. And it's been beautiful to witness and to honestly be a part of it now. So yeah, I'm so grateful.
Thank you. So I want to just let folks know, because of the findings that Claudia and I have uncovered on the first half of the Architecture of Reinvention, The Art of Unbecoming, I decided to do a series called the Elevate Within Manifesto. And I genuinely did not plan to write it. It just simply emerged as I looked back across every conversation, every article that I built with the podcast. So if you go on to Substack at Elevate Within, not only are you watching the podcast, but I also do an editorial about that episode and some findings and thoughts and stuff like that. So be sure to subscribe to that. Again, it's at substack.com at Elevate Within. And the one thing that Claudia and we talked about the other day is we would also love for our listeners to submit questions on Elevate Within at Substack about burnout, imposter syndrome, grief, people pleasing, or whatever it is that
Topics.
you would like for us to talk about. Or if you have questions just for yourself, please put that into the comments. We would love to hear from all of you. We would love to see you. Talk to you.
Quick question. Can anybody put in comments or just subscribers?
Just subscribers. So paid subscribers, it's $12 a month. Good question. T, and a great segue into that. So it's $12 a month for the paid subscribers. And we will take those questions there. And what we'll do is we will do a quick Thursday interlude episodes in the middle of our summer series. Does that work for you, Claudia?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, we absolutely definitely want to hear more from our listeners. We want to hear your questions. By all means, still put your comments into all wherever you listen to your podcasts, like share, definitely share with a friend or a woman or anybody that you feel like whatever resonated with you on that episode or the roundtable, share it with them. Any final thoughts for you, Claudia, on that?
I mean, really, it's just I'm excited to see the next series, and I'm more excited to hear from our listeners. Like this
Me
is
too.
where we're evolving, right? I want to put on the comments if you see our clips on TikTok. Please put a comment, let us know a question, anything. Come to Substacks, get more in depth with it, but like that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah. And I could tell you right now, for those that are going to comment about my background, listen, I don't have time to get estranged. Look, and two, although I'm in California, I'm still a New Yorker, Bronx, Yonkers, shout out to YO. But I need to see what's behind me while I'm trying to record. Like, it's a safe neighborhood, but you just can't take the hood out of me. So again, the background, I get you. I hear you. I ain't doing nothing about it yet. I think after this, and as our listeners grow and we get more speakers, then Claudia and I will move to a studio. So we'll start looking at sponsors for that as well. But in the meantime, yeah, I get it. But stop looking at the background. Just look at us. Listen,
Listen.
receive,
Concentrate.
receive.
Receive,
Stop
yes.
doing this to try to be like, what's that? Stop. Claudia's background. So they're like, what book is that? Where is she at? Like,
They're all
just
therapy books. Don't worry.
be patient. We still a little janky, but the messaging is rich. So
Yes.
you can save that comment there. Taina,
Yes.
thank you so much for joining us today. Claudia and I are so grateful to have you here and to, give your thoughts not only as a friend, but as a listener. So thank you.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
ladies. Keep it up. I can't wait to see everything else you got in store.
Yeah. Why don't you tell the folks where they can find you?
Sure. So you can find me on IG at Modern Alchemix. That's MODERNALCHEMIX. And then you could also look up modernalchemix.com. That's my website. And on LinkedIn, look up Taina Galarza, and you can see all of the roles that I've played over the years.
Yeah.
Yeah, but thank you, ladies, so much. Seriously. You're
Thank
doing
you.
God's work.
Thank you. And I'll make
Thank you
sure
so much.
all of Taina's information is in the show notes. So thank you, everyone, for spending this season with us, whether you're here because you're rebuilding, questioning, healing, or simply trying to understand yourself a little better. I'm so grateful that you're here. Until next time, keep elevating personally, professionally, and from within. And if no one told you that they loved you today, I love you. T, I love you. Claudia, I love you.
I love you so much, Sandy Davis. I'm your biggest fan.
Thank you.
And Claudia, it's wonderful to have finally met you. Honestly, big fan of your work. And yes, I know you're making the world a better place over there on the West Coast.
Cheers.
Thank you for being
Cheers.
here. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. And I see I'm glistening. That's my hot flash. So that's it's time to end it. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye. If this conversation resonated with you, you're not alone. That's exactly why this space exists. Elevate Within is for the high-achieving women in the messy middle, the space between who you were and who you're becoming. The architecture of reinvention is an invitation to pause, to reflect, to heal, and to begin the process of unbecoming everything you were told you had to be, so you could become who you were always meant to be. Be sure to join us each Friday for our Architecture of Reinvention Roundtable discussions, where we continue these conversations and explore the deeper lessons, insights, tools, and reflections that emerge from each story. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube so you never miss an episode. For Apple Podcast listeners, I would be grateful if you leave a rating or review. It helps reach more women who may need this conversation right now. And if you'd like to go deeper, join us on Substack at Elevate Within. There, you'll find weekly essays and honest conversations about burnout, grief, reinvention, resilience, healing, and the messy middle. Free subscribers receive full access to all public content, while paid subscribers receive bonus essays, early access to upcoming series, behind-the-scenes recording, and opportunities to engage directly with the community. If you know of a woman who needs to hear this conversation today, please share it with her. You can find me on LinkedIn under Sandra Davis, on Substack at Elevate Within, and if you're in need of fractional COO work or would like to book a discovery call on how I can help, you can reach out to me at elevateopsadvisory.com. You'll find all those links in the show notes. Until next time, keep elevating personally, professionally, and from within.